Luca's list. We haven't had a Luca's list in a minute. It's kind of tragic, but this is an important one. We're post-deadline assessing the newly acquired players that have had the biggest impact on their team since the trade deadline. So lots of options here. It was an insane trade deadline, but walk us through your list and your thought process.
This is actually one of the toughest ones I think that I've done.
Yeah, dude. Like, a lot of teams have had a lot of guys make, and I feel like all the guys who were traded, maybe save Patrick Kane, who took a couple games to score, had an immediate impact.
It's true. And so honorable mentions, Kane, I think, is one of them. He's started to pick it up a little. Dmitry Orlov's been great for the Bruins. I was very tempted. Jacob Chychrun has been good for Ottawa. And Nino Niederreiter, surprisingly, 6 points in 7 games with the Winnipeg Jets, 6-game point streak. He's playing pretty well for them, and they're winning some games, and he scored some big goals.
Winnipeg actually in a playoff spot, and wild card peasants like they've been scrounging around all season.
Jesse's got to be excited about that. Okay, let's go to number 3, Matthias Ekholm.
Okay, but you have to add Noel Acciari to your honorable mentions list.
Okay, Noel Acciari, honorable mention.
Thank you.
There we go. We'll get a Leaf in there. It would have been Ryan O'Reilly if he was healthy, okay?
Good.
We'll start with Matthias Ekholm, though. Edmonton Oilers, we saw him here on Saturday night, and I think he's just brought a lot of stability. You can see it. Just Evan Bouchard looks like a different player with Ekholm playing with him, and whoever Ekholm plays with, it just adds so much security for that player because he is so defensively reliable and responsible, and that's what he was in Nashville playing with Roman Josi. So he can unlock a different part of those Oilers defensemen's game. They're both young, like when you're talking about Bouchard and Nurse, they both love to jump up in the play, and having that security blanket behind you, knowing that if you do jump up, you'll be okay. You can get back, and you've got him back there just being a stalwart, being a horse. And I think he scored a goal, too, which doesn't happen for him often.
Yeah, that was a rip that he scored, too.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't happen often, but love Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their deep pairings right now, and I was kind of thinking about the Edmonton Oilers defense, which is probably something that everyone in Edmonton does a lot. Yeah. But, like, that was a thin blue line. And that's still a pretty thin, like, Nurse.
They need more than him. That's for sure.
Ekholm, Bouchard, Kulak, Desharnais. Like, it's not overly cute.
No.
And they needed him.
They needed him, and they still need way more than him.
Yeah.
We're going to stick with the blue line for number 2. Rasmus Sandin. He's been such a good surprise, I guess you could say, in Washington. And we were talking about it. He was never going to have the role he was having, or he is having in Washington on this Leafs blue line.
Not anytime soon, no.
But I think that's why fans are upset about it, is because how didn't you view this guy in that light as far as maybe giving him a bigger role? Whatever the case may be.
But is he gonna? Yeah, I know what you mean. I understand why fans are upset. That's your favorite little Swede out there ripping it up for the Washington Capitals. He's got 8 points in 4 games. He's got a goal. But in this, it's similar to the conversation. Yeah. Rasmus Sandin is still kind of a prospect is the wrong word, but he is he's a top 4 defenseman on Washington. Washington, who sold at the deadline. Washington, who is not going to win a Stanley Cup this year. Like, he's not a top 4 defenseman on a Stanley Cup team right now. Maybe in 3 years he is, but the Leafs aren't trying to win a Stanley Cup in 3 years. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup right now.
It's a great point. It's a great point in team building and where you're at as a franchise.
It's tragic, but it is what it is. Like, I'm sure the Blues are thinking Tage Thompson would be great right now, but you know what was great? That Stanley Cup celebration that they had a few years ago. So that is what it is.
That's a great example of it, actually. Like, that is the perfect example of just where you're at as a team, and sometimes the pieces don't fit.
Yeah.
Number 1, Jonathan Quick. 3-0, under 2 goals against for Vegas. They needed a goalie, and who would have thought that Jonathan Quick would be the one? And I really hope somehow, some way, the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights match up in round 1, because I want nothing more than for him to get cheered in LA, because he's going to get cheered in LA because the fans love him there, and they did him dirty, and he's just going to knock out his former team. That's even better.
It would be epic.
It would be epic.
It would be the ultimate revenge series for Jonathan Quick, who definitely has that swagger about him.
And no one saw this coming, too. He was playing horribly this season, and the Kings are a really good defensive team, too. So I don't know. I guess it really is that kind of quote-unquote change of scenery thing that he needed, but he's been outstanding, and they need a goalie, so it's good to see that they've got one now.
Yeah, change of scenery, fueled by hate, one and the same. But
Fueled by hate is probably the bigger one.
It's very powerful.